Coming up, Sam Walker gets the gold for running backwards. James Maloney becomes a villain in a Headingley blockbuster. And Moses Suli wins the Oscar for Funniest Falcon of the Year. Yes, hello, and welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Henry, I am Connor Marcellus, and today we bring you your NRL Round 17-18 debrief, as well as your look at State of Origin Game 3. But before we jump into Origin, we got to talk Round 17, and we start off at Brookvale, where the Canberra Raiders, surprise, surprise, upstage the Manly Sea Eagles 30 points to 16. Take it away, my colleague.
Well, Seagulls are going to struggle without John Tavorovich and Daly Cherry-Evans easily. But to lose to Raiders, who just came off a heavy defeat from the Titans the week prior, I wasn't expecting the Raiders to win, but they did.
I mean, it took less than 5 minutes for Dylan Walker off a scrum play to break through, and it was just sort of like, oh yeah, here we go, Manly. Even though they're no Tom Trbojevic, no Jake Trbojevic, and no Daly Cherry-Evans, were thinking, yeah, Manly could still put up a score here.
Well, like I predicted last week, I thought Manly were going to win by 40-something points last week, and how wrong was I? Very, very wrong indeed. And like I said, when Dylan Walker scored, I thought, oh, here we go, Manly going to keep scoring, try. But no. It went Raiders, try until late into the match.
Tom Starling coming on. Would you say that was the turning point in the first half there?
It was a good move by Ricky Stewart, and it paid off. I reckon that was the turning point of the match, to be honest.
Because I think most of the tries, you look at Starling's try, Sam Williams' try, as well as Walker's try for the first half, and I think there might have been another one there as well. Most of them were either dummy half runs, or it was just, there was not much effort in their construction. It was sort of like dummies, run from dummy half, but
it's kind of like the same, not same plays, but I'm going to say same plays over and over again. To an extent, but not really. But it's just like how they were formed and how the defence line was set and how the attack was set and just how it happened to be that are mostly from dummy half try. So
yeah, it was definitely the case there. And Canberra were actually in command for probably a large bulk of the second half as well.
Yeah, which it's been one of the weakest points this season, the Raiders, because they usually go backwards in the second half.
Yeah, especially around about that last 20 minutes. Now, Sam Williams, 2 tries, 1 try assist, 6 tackle breaks and 2 offloads. He was the maestro on this day.
Yeah, and without Jack Whiten.
No Jack Whiten, no Papali'i, Nickel Klukstad missing for practically the entire year.
Yeah.
Well, since early in the year, I should say.
But Sam Williams really stepped up without Jack Whiten being there.
The try that ended up for Sebastian Chris, and this is what we just discussed from the outset, puts the kick up. Moses Suli playing left wing with Garrick playing fullback. Hits him. He's got his back turned to the ball and to the Canberra chasers. Whack off his face. Goes forward. Not touched by a Raiders player in sight. Sebastian Chris jumps in and scores.
He's like, hello, here's the ball. No one's touched it. I might score a 4-pointer here, and he certainly did. Yeah. It came from pretty much nothing to an extent. Like, you think that Manly were going to get it.
Oh, it did. And of course, Olakau'atu just
another standout performance.
Oh, isn't that ironic? I mean, because Suli scored the try that got Manly back with an 8. And then he gives up the try to Sebastian Chris, not even 5 minutes later?
Emre Gula scored the last try for the Raiders. Sebastian Chris scored on the 56th minute and Suli scored on the 70th minute.
Oh, well then, it's the other way around. I mean, he made up for giving up that try off the Falcon by scoring a try by himself.
To bring it back closer, but then Gula scored. So, look, it was a pretty close, to an extent, a close match, and it could have gone either way at one point.
Well, I think you have to commend the Raiders here for actually putting on a second half performance
for once in the
this year, since things have been going horribly wrong.
True, especially last week when they were absolutely belted by the Titans. Sorry, the week before. So in round 16.
So that was a response Sticky needed. And that put the Canberra Raiders ninth for that
they're
time.
part of that logjam.
They're still in the logjam.
They're still in the fight for the next
I know
finals.
we've been bagging the Raiders out, but then again, we've probably bagged a whole lot of other sides out. At that we think, what the hell is going on with you?
Yeah.
But there's still hope for Canberra.
Yeah.
They just need some... if they can just hold Whiten and Williams in the halves...
Which surely they will.
I mean, they're still on the market for a halfback, and probably even another fullback if the worst comes to worst when Nickel Klugstad.
I don't know why they just don't keep Sam Williams full-time in the squad.
Well, he's been hovering in and out. I mean, first Aiden Caesar left, so you thought, oh yeah, they'll go to Sam Williams. Then George Williams signs up. Then George Williams leaves, and you thought, okay, so they're probably going to find someone else. I mean, all the talk, Gareth Widdop, and we'll touch more on that later. But no, it's just for someone who's like been around for some time with the Raiders, St George Illawarra, and with Wakefield Trinity, he's doing all right for himself.
He is, very much so. One stat I want to point out, the Raiders forced, or was it Manly that forced goal line dropouts? No, Raiders forced 8 goal line dropouts in that match. That
is unbelievable.
Not just on the Raiders, but across the entire competition.
And what was it?
Unheard of.
Was it completion rate for Canberra 90% as well? I saw.
Completion rate, yes, 90% completion rate for the Raiders.
So,
which means they've got 43 out of the 48 sets.
That's Warriors playbook right there. Complete high, you'll win. That I don't think it's even exclusive to Warriors. I just think it's general rule of thumb.
Yeah. But yeah, that is unbelievable work by the Canberra Raiders there. 8 false goal line dropouts.
Well, I'll definitely say Desi was disappointed with that.
Yes.
But I don't think any doors were getting torn off the Brookvale change rooms just yet. Unless he wants to tear some old things off with the Northern stand and going in.
Well, yes, but he might not. Who knows?
Now, Friday night, having relocated from Greater Sydney to avoid the lockdown, the South Sydney Rabbitohs beating the North Queensland Cowboys 46-18.
And as I mentioned last week, I was attending this match, and luckily I did attend this match because it's going to be the last one in New South Wales for a while. Due to
certain things we're not allowed to talk about unless we get cancelled by our big tech overlords. But that's another story for another day. Look, I think one comment that has to be made. The Rabbitohs' right edge. I know we've talked about South Sydney's left edge, and I think it is amongst one of the most potent edges in the league. But now the right edge is really starting to heat up.
Yeah. It very much is so. I have to say, Walker had a lot of influence on the result.
Well, 3 try assists, 1 tackle break, 1 offload. Of course, working both sides of the field.
But he didn't play the whole 80 minutes. I can't remember.
Was it hamstring strain, they said?
I don't know. When I saw on the big screen at the stadium, it looked like he had ice on his ankle.
It might have been ankle.
I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I believe it's an ankle injury, but I could be wrong.
Well, hold up. Because we got the luxury of trying to find the sources, we can find out what exactly happened to Cody Walker in that regard. It might take just a minute or two of scrolling because it did. As
my co-host is trying to find out, the crowd was less than the one of the week prior to the Storm Roosters match. It was only 3,127. It was a wet match. There was only one sin bin for the match, which is starting to become less of an occurrence nowadays. The crackdown is still obviously on, but the players are getting, and the clubs are getting used to the new tackle setups and all that. I just can't believe that Shane Wright should have not scored that try. Jason Taumalolo broke through the line, had support there, flicked it to Shane Wright, and he scored.
With that, Todd Payton's strategy for Taumalolo has been called into question again.
It very much has.
Because when he was on, in the early stages, the Cowboys were on. And they were in total field dominance.
Well, they had 2 quick tries.
But then when and he went off, South ran in 3 tries unopposed. Just the moment Taumalolo left, the Rabbitohs regained the ascendancy and they pushed forward.
They definitely did. And Tom Dearden scored the first try. I tell you what, whoever does a goal line dropouts at the Cowboys...
I think it was either, take your pick, either...
I'd say Scott Drinkwater.
Drinkwater, who was playing fullback, and between Tom Dearden, I think, for both of them.
I don't know what he was thinking. It was inside the first 5 minutes of the match. I know they're trying to spice things up and catch the opposition off guard. The first goal line dropout the Cowboys did, it went out on the full over the... around about 25 metres out, and it went out in the full. And then another goal line dropout soon after, and then one, it didn't even go to 10 metres, and 2, it went out on the full. I was like, what the hell are they doing here? But in the end, they end up getting more successful goal line dropouts on the other end of the field during the second half of the match, but the result did not go their way.
Tane Milne and Alex Johnston were basically caught up in a try-scoring fest.
On the opposite sides of the field to each other.
Honestly, it was a race to see who could get a hat-trick first, but I think it was the case Johnston...
Tane Milne got there first. Only by 3 minutes.
3 minutes. But I suppose for a winger, 3 minutes is an eternity.
Yeah.
When you're trying to score tries like that.
Yeah. So Milne got one on the 31st and the 34th, and then the 67th minute of the match. And then Johnston got one on the 37th, 48th, and then the 70th. So Tane Milne was the first one. So 3 minutes difference. But they had a blinder of a game as well.
All right. Liam Knight. There was a little bit of controversy, especially amongst the NRL's Discord server, that they were wondering why Liam Knight was not suspended. Do you think he should have been suspended for that for his charge?
I'm not too sure. It's a bit of a 50-50 call, that one. But with how things are going at the moment, I reckon he should have.
So you think he should have got game time for that instead of a $1,500 fine?
Yeah. Just based on recent events that have happened throughout the year, I reckon he should have. But ultimately, it didn't happen.
Well, just for the recap, just from the round 17 charges, it was dangerous contact towards the head and the neck on Tom Dearden. It looked like Dearden got snapped back in half, didn't it?
It did. And obviously, being there, saw it live, I was like, oh, yeah.
But
it should have been some time, because especially with the crackdown that's been going on.
The language they use for this, they say dangerous because of the crackdown, but then not long after that, probably within the same minute, Helam Lukey takes out Peter Marmazelos. His charge is careless high tackle, gets sat down for 10 minutes.
And it's very, very
similar. And now he's going to miss one game. So
there's no consistency there.
Which one is it? So you're going to say for the charge down that Liam Knight attempted on Tom Dearden, you're going to say that was just dangerous contact to the head/neck. And then with Helam Lukey, it's high tackle careless. He misses a week. And Knight gets off with a $1,600 fine.
Yeah. No consistency whatsoever. And it was in the same minute of the match, practically. In the same match. It should be one way or the other. The crackdown is...
the argument is...
It should have been...
The argument is the crackdown is dead. Because of these inconsistencies.
Well, is it just players and clubs getting used to the fact of the crackdown? It might be taking the tackling style different. I'm not quite sure. But I believe Liam Knight should have been the same as Helam Lukey, for sure.
Well, I don't know what to say about the Cowboys, because I was on the way home listening to this on the radio, and I'm just like, oh, here we go, North Queensland. They could be in with a sniff. But then all the good work they did within the first half an hour, it was gone.
Yeah.
And they just didn't recover after that.
The South just hammered them left, right, and centre.
Well, it sort of was. And what was Tom Burgess going for with his post-try celebration during July? Just honestly, what was he trying to do?
I honestly could not tell you what he was trying to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was much better than Adam Reynolds celebrating too early.
Yes.
At least he actually managed to score a try.
Yeah, but Tom Burgess' try, he literally not come back When did he score the second half? Yeah. He not like just come back on the field after a stint on the bench.
And
it's kind of like the first touch of the ball and boom, he scores.
Yeah, in what that I think some have compared to his brother's try in the 2014 grand final, where he just steamrolls his way through the defence. I think about 20 metres out he was. And he just rampages his way to the line.
Yeah. Typical Burgess style.
Burgess style.
Not just Tom Burgess, but George and Sam as well.
Don't forget Luke.
And Luke, sorry. Yeah.
Although we haven't seen much of, Sam's career at Bradford. I mean, I only tuned in the Super League in 2017, so I didn't get the opportunity to see Sam play at Bradford or Luke, or even Tom come through the ranks at Bradford as well. So, but of course, I did watch nearly all four of them during their time in the NRL. So, that's nice. Now, the big news. Well, I shouldn't say the big news. We'll get more onto that. But the Roosters are back in the winner's circle after that humiliation at the hands of the Melbourne Storm, downing the Canterbury Bulldogs not by 13 points or more, but by 22 points to 16.
Yes, the Dogs were in the contest, which was a massive surprise.
Oh, I tell you what, I was so happy at halftime.
Well, to an extent.
Just focusing on the fact that Lachlan Lewis, I mean, everyone's pillared Lewis from post to post. It was because, I mean, he's in 1 week, he's out the next, he's had concussion problems. In the past, he hasn't got a run with the Mounties as much as we should have hoped for. But he comes back in after Carl Flanagan gets axed again. Surprise, surprise, 2021 headline.
Mm-hmm.
And he scores 2 tries, just throwing something different at the Roosters' right edge.
And Roosters obviously didn't expect it either.
Oh, but
that's what the Dogs need.
I loved it. I honestly loved it.
And only down by 6 at half time.
16-10 the halftime scoreline. We leveled the game up, and it's like, oh hello, the Dogs could roll the Roosters here.
But then Matt Ikabalu.
Sam Walker.
No, sorry, Sam Walker put the penalty goal.
It couldn't really last. Just Jack Hetherington going at Victor Radley, 2 blokes that are known for dining out with the NRL Judiciary Unit close to a regular basis as you can get.
Yeah.
So, look, I mean, it's one of those tackles where they don't care where the contact was initiated because it was the chest first and it slid up.
Yeah.
It up to the neck, but at the end of the day, the NRL has basically said. But I mean, in all fairness, they did say, "Oh yeah, Jack doesn't have a case to answer this time, so we're gonna let him go."
Yeah, there was no sim
but
in that either. So.
But him and Victor Radley, that would have been spicy.
It would have been. I'm gonna say the try. It was good to see Billy Smith.
Oh, the poor bloke. I mean, honestly, the poor bloke.
He got a try.
I mean, what was it first? First, he does his ACL, so that rules him out for the entire 2020 season. And then not long before the 2021 season gets underway, he does his shoulder. I mean, come on, give this poor kid some luck going his way.
Well, luck definitely did go his way in the 4th minute of the match, and he scored that try.
Oh, he must have felt...
It was so good to see. With the horror injury run he's had.
It must have felt good, just because he's only had a handful of games since round 23, 2019, when he came on as a replacement for Latrell Mitchell.
Yes, that's how old it is. Latrell Mitchell is still at the Roosters. That's how old this is.
So we're talking he's only played a handful of games in 2 years, which I think would amount to 3 at the most. 4th game of his career, and he bags what I think is maybe his 3rd or 4th try.
The 3rd try in his career. But yeah, it was excellent to see. And good to see that Dogs can top it, put it to
mind
top
you,
teams.
the Roosters were under strength, relatively speaking.
Well, they had no Tedesco.
And no no Angus Crichton, I should say.
Angus Crichton because of origin duties. Plus, we already know that injury list / retirement list this season.
Brett Morris, Jake Friend, Boyd Cordner, Luke Keary, Lindsay Collins, and now...
Well, you don't need to add Victor Radley. You can take Victor Radley off the list.
No, I was going to say Joseph Suwali.
Ah, yes.
He has now done his ankle as well, so he's going to be out for the rest of the year.
But for the games he has played this year, Suwali, he did pretty good.
I think most of the people think
50-50.
because I mean, you look at Reece Walsh, you look at Sam Walker. I mean, it's just like Suwali was much more hyped. Walker had a lot of potential, and Reece Walsh was so lucrative that the Warriors tried to get him out of his Broncos contract a year or so early.
And what happened? Walker's come out flying. Swallows just, maybe a bit too much hype for him. But he did score that try on the Central Coast. So, at least he's got a try out of it. Or he might have got another one somewhere else. But, No, the Dogs, that was really good performance by the Dogs, I believe. They came so close of beating the top team.
So close. It would have been monumental. That could have turned our season around.
Another thing is, the Dogs completed 84 of the completion rate. The last time they were up near that far was, I think, against the Dragons on the Queen's birthday when it was 94%. That's high completion rates helps you win games, / almost win games.
Yeah, but discipline is what wins games.
Yes.
Now, the most controversial part of that actually happened within the final 10 seconds. Sam Walker getting the gold medal for running the length of the field in the opposite direction.
What was he thinking? That was the perfect opportunity because Luke Keary is not there for the rest of the season. That's already mentioned. That was a perfect chance for him to practice his fine-tuning of closing out matches. Yes, that was close, but it was the perfect time to close out the matches because they could have been maybe a try behind or maybe 2 points in front come finals match. And if he doesn't practice now during regular season matches, come finals time, it might bite them in the backside.
But would you seriously consider endorsing, say, running 107 meters in the other direction to try and wind down the clock?
Well,
is that really sportsmanship? I mean,
no.
I mean, no one's questioning Jared Hayne, although no one's really talking to Jared Hayne at the moment.
No.
Because Game 2 2014, when New South Wales were up 6-4, he got his hands on the ball with probably maybe 20 seconds to go. I think he ran 20 or 30 meters in the other direction, try and wind down the clock to get to full time. With that iconic just jumping into the crowd at the northern end of the ground for New South Wales to win that State of Origin series. And I mean, Jake Friend, 2018 grand final, sort of just teasing the Storm on the sideline. I mean, they're already up by 15 and they were going to win the premiership.
Regardless.
But still, he was running backwards too. I mean, where does the line get drawn on what is sort of fine to run backwards or that is just completely ridiculous?
I think it's completely ridiculous to an extent. It's like being a bit too cocky.
Gamesmanship.
Yeah, no pun, regardless, but being too cocky and in a way a bit too arrogant. They call Penrith Panthers team arrogant for winning all the time, but you never see them run backwards.
No, Penrith don't run backwards.
Always keep them.
Melbourne don't run backwards.
But with them two teams, you never see them run backwards, and they always keep trying to score another try or more points down to the full-time siren.
I mean, Trent Robinson, looking at him from the full time, I'm shots at the coach's box. He was he honestly looked less than impressed. Just like, I'm gonna bloody give you a hide and the nothing, Sam, when you get back into the shed.
Even Boy Corner, he was like shaking his head and thinking, "What?"
But wasn't Cordner laughing slightly as well?
He was he was. But
he's just was it sort of like a, or was it like, oh my God, Sammy, what the bloody hell you doing, you wanker?
That second option you've said, it would be that one, I believe. Before we get on to the next match, I was supposed to do it at the end of the Rabbitohs Cowboys match. I'm just going to shout out to Adam Reynolds. Some fan, it was his 7th birthday, like there was a sign saying it's my 7th birthday. Adam Reynolds took off his jersey, put on a trainer's jersey, went over, gave him his number 7 jersey to this young boy. It was his 7th birthday and got a photo with his family as well. You don't hear this much in the media. We should
hear this. This is
the feel-good stories you hear.
This is feel-good ratings. I mean, who wants to hear scandal after scandal when you can hear community leader or rugby league role model doing something positive in the community?
So he gave away his halfback jersey, obviously wearing number 7 to a kid.
I mean,
that was on
he
his
could have
7th
kept it on
birthday.
out of selfishness, and 2, because he would have been bloody freezing.
Oh, he had a trainer's. They gave him a trainer's jersey. to put
Oh,
on.
well, yeah. I
Like
mean,
a trainer jersey.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
ones that you see out in
but
the
it's like
road.
Jonathan Thurston when he used to play, giving
Game
away his
after
headgear,
game.
gave away his kicking tees, and I think he also signed the football when he nearly killed that kid
Yeah.
in a couple of years back up in Townsville.
Yeah. But that Jonathan Thurston was game after game after game. Whether at home, away, anywhere he did it. And Reynolds.
That was a sport. That was just good sportsmanship.
Yeah. No, you don't hear
And
that much.
that's what keeps the fans in. Just
even at a reduced
you
capacity.
I mean, that's what it's acts like that. Look at mothers, and they're just like, hey, you know what? If this is what good sportsmanship is, or good conduct is like, I want my son and I want my daughter to get into this game.
Yeah.
And it's like for the regular fan, and it's just like that could be a perfect PR strategy. Just like, don't look at all the off-field scandals with, the drugs, the problems, the police, barbecue gates that violate public health orders.
Yeah. No, but you hear good news stories here right here on the Sideline Chat podcast. So if you want to hear more, subscribe.
And now finally, to wrap up round 17, we've got the Cronulla Sharks downing the Warriors 20 points to 12.
It was a really good game, I believe. Well, not I believe. We saw. And the Sharks came out on top.
All right, before we get it on, just like, what is it with Connor Tracy?
Honestly, I don't know.
how many weeks has he now been in the Sharks starting side? Just like, we got all this talk, he's going to go back to the bench soon. And I was just like, we thought he was going to come from the bench, honestly. Oh, no, you're starting at 5'8", but then Will Chambers has had to go into quarantine. So it's like, Connor, you're moving into the centre. I mean, this bloke,
Well, not
he's
only just Will
he's
Chambers.
a 5'8" halfback by trade, but he's just like, you lose Sienna Katoa and Ronaldo Olatalo. Connor, we need you to play out in the wing. So then Olatalo comes back. It's like, all right, can I now play in the halves? Oh, sorry, Connor. Matt Moylan and Sean Johnson are back, so we're going to use them in the halves. And it's like, here, play centre. And it's just like, all right, now there's no Matt Moylan in my way. Chad Townsend's gone. I can now start now. It's just like, oh, sorry, Connor. Will's actually got caught up in hotel quarantine because he came back from Victoria. So we're going to put Braden Trindle at 5'8", and you're going to move in the centre. He's just like, you're going to take it on the chin. But honestly, someone in the back of his like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm starting. I know I'm getting all these starting matches under my belt. But come on, I just want to play in the halves, for Christ's sake.
Yes.
And then it's gotten even worse for him. It's like, oh yeah, we also signed Nico Hines for next year. It's just like, come on!
Yeah. But the good thing out of all this, he is still scoring tries for the Sharks. And scoring
Unbelievable.
Week in, week out.
You might as well put him at starting centre next
You might
year.
as well.
It might as well be Connor Tracy, Jesse Ramian on the Sharks team sheet come round 1 2022.
Yeah. It's... I don't know what you're saying.
But he's worth his weight in gold to the Sharks. That's all I want to
Yeah.
say. He is worth his weight in gold. Winger, 5'8", centre, probably not recommended, but front rower.
Utility anyway but the front row. But no, he I think he's even played hooker at one stage. So
Getting back onto the game, I mean, the way the Warriors set up the first try, just like, I think, was it Townsend was... Oh no, it was O'Sullivan, I think, was in the halves.
Yes, was that injured.
Crossfield kick over to the right edge. They're juggling it a little bit between Rocco Berry and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. Watene-Zelezniak puts the kick in, and you think, oh god, here we go. Oh, there goes his kicking license, if you listen to the Andrew Johns commentary. But then, Reese Lightning comes out of nowhere, and it's just like,
bang!
yeah, okay, that's a Warriors try for sure.
Yeah. Out of nowhere he came. And like you said, Watene-Zelezniak could have lost his kicking license in one play. That's all it takes.
That was a
one
bloody
play.
good try he scored.
But yeah. No, that was unbelievable. And to make things even better, Reece Walsh,
His first game back after doing the leg injury.
yes, kicked his own goal. And he kicked the other one from two of us. Check scoring.
It's got to be satisfying. But what happened after that? It was just the Sharks just said nope and dominated field position, didn't they?
Pretty much. The Sharks in the middle part of the game had control because they scored the 3 tries in the middle part of the game. after the Warriors scored their first in the 16th, and two of us, the Shark team scored to the 57th minute of the match. So you can tell the Sharks are utter dominant in the first
Well,
half.
defense played a strong part, but honestly, Braden Handling-Uele, I think he probably highlighted rugby league in America once more for his post-try celebration.
Yeah. What was that like?
Apparently, I heard it was a tribute to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson from his WWE days.
Yeah, fair enough.
I feel sorry for the poor bloke he had to first punch. I mean, it would have been staged.
Yeah.
It was staged, but just still. And then to get the elbow into him, and this big Hulk and Kiwi front rower crashing down, and you're just like, that's not good for your health.
Can you get sin binned or sent off from try celebrations?
If you're from the NRL, please let us know.
Because that could have been...
Can we get Graham Annesley down here and just so he can clarify the rules regarding the sin bin and the send-off rules if you punch up with your own teammates?
Well,
So I don't think that's actually happened, just out of curiosity.
Well, no, I don't think it has either. But if that happened in the field of play when the game was playing on, then that would have been something would have happened.
Just like the referee's just like, okay, I didn't see two blokes on the same side punching on.
Well,
I'm
I've
just
seen
going
two brothers that have punched up on the opposite teams.
Morris
a
twins.
fake
Morris
punch
twins.
up. Yeah.
They were probably taking the piss.
They're taking the piss out
11
of
years
each
ago, that game, when they...
11?
Yeah.
Wow. How time flies. Literally for them, because, by
But they're
scoring.
still... Josh is still going, but still... And the Warriors, it's not like they didn't have opportunities. I mean, there were, but they just couldn't execute.
Well, they completed 79% of their completion rate compared to Sharks 83, so it's pretty close in the completion rate. And the possession stats, Sharks had 53 and Warriors had 47, so it's pretty close. It just came down to literally who had the better attack, and the Sharks also had that slight better attack. And they had that one penalty goal, and the Warriors didn't, and had the extra try, which the Warriors didn't. So, yeah.
Well, that penalty goal, on the half-time, it honestly forced the Warriors into an impossible position at that stage of the game, but the Sharks' defence...
It was 20-6, and the Sharks won 20-12. So they don't let one try for the whole second half.
Yeah.
So it shows how good the defence is coming. But Braden Trindle kicking goals, that's good. Someone different. Well, you haven't got your first choice kickers
Well,
there.
Sean Johnson was there, and he would have been
that's
first
right.
choice.
But he must have had a niggle or an injury or decided...
The hamstring again. It's like Benji Marshall and the hamstring.
It's either that or the Sharks think, all right, Sean Johnson's not going to be here next year. We need to start bloody new goal kickers into the main game. Well, getting practice at it during regular time. So I thought, well, maybe Braden Trindle.
Well, they're going to get a goal kicker in Nico Hines.
Yes, they've got that, but Braden Trindle can put his hand up and step up when he has to, if he has to next year.
Yeah, we'll head on to that. Now, the round 18 debrief after the NRL decided that 12 NRL clubs were to be moved to southeast Queensland due to the lockdown containing to the things we're not allowed to talk about lest we get censored by our big tech overlords.
The only team that did not get moved was the Melbourne Storm from New South Wales or Canberra.
Exactly. So,
and the Warriors was included in that, and Newcastle was included in that as well.
So anyway, we've got the first of the round 18 Queensland Hub Series going on. We start off with the Gold Coast Titans playing host to the Parramatta Eels. A couple of big ins for Parramatta. Reid Marnie back in the lineup for Brad Arthur's side. So that unfortunately pushes Joey Lussick back to the reserves. Jacob Arthur also included in the reserve, as alongside Keegan Hipgrave, and it is expected that Clint Gutherson, Mitchell Moses, and Junior Paulo will all back up from Game 3.
Well, yes, they should, considering it's only, considering Origin's on Wednesday, or today, as we're recording this episode, and then on the Friday night. As for the Gold Coast Titans, it is the exact same 17 as last week that belted the Canberra Raiders, although Fodawaker, Farmer Sterling, and AJ Brimson, they'll be hoping to get through the match unscathed and hoping they can back up. And Dave Fafita is back
after the one-match suspension,
which he
which meant he would miss
This
Origin 3.
So it's a pretty much unchanged lineup.
Well, this would be the first time the Titans host the Eels all year, and I would think this would also be the first time in a while that they've gone up against the top 4 opposition after facing the Storm and the Roosters in consecutive weeks.
Yes, that's true. But it's going to be a very, very hard one to pick. They're both excellent teams, one more than the other. But I had to really say...
It's a different quality that the Titans are coming up, because I think we know what we're getting with Parramatta. And exactly, we got forward battle through the middle, and then Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown step up off the back of that forward momentum from your Paulos, your Campbell Gillards, and your Nathan Browns. And Isaiah Papali'i, though he's not going to be on the same side as David Fafita, that in itself, that should be interesting to see which second rower gets the upper hand.
Yes, it would. It just really comes down to see whose Origin players back up.
Oh, it does, because Origin, it can be a blessing or it could be a curse.
Yeah. Well, you would think that the Queensland players will probably not back up because they'll be too busy sulking. While the Blues players for the Eels will be pretty happy, so they'll be happy. They'll be more than likely bouncing full of confidence and heading into play this week. It's still hard to pick though, I believe. It just comes down to who's got the better playmaking, who's got the better attack.
Well,
really.
The Titans will be hoping that Mitchell Moses doesn't have a pleasant Origin debut, because as we've seen in the past, it has been hard for halves to back up after a poor Origin showing, because, I mean, difference between them and front rowers is a front rower doesn't have a good game at Origin. All he has to do is just run harder the next time he plays, and it's just like, yeah, okay, you're all right. But a half, I mean, especially for New South Wales in the past, and this is what Queensland and now got to deal with. Even though Cherry Evans and Cameron Munster both had stronger performances coming off the back of Origin defeats.
Yeah. Going into Origin matches, I haven't been performing all year.
I think Parramatta, they'll be all right with this. I would be looking to go at Ash Taylor's edge. So I'd be looking to attack down the right-hand side to go, at Ash Taylor. Hey, look, try and put pressure on him. Because he's not... he's the multi-million-dollar man. The million-dollar man on the Gold Coast. So if you can put enough pressure on him, and then knock-on effect down that edge...
Because Ash Taylor doesn't perform well under pressure. We've seen that happen in the past.
Yeah, exactly the case. Secondly, of course, the Titans' right side defensively, I think from recent estimations as well. Yeah. But I would think containing David Fafita would be priority number 1. Fogarty, Taylor, they're secondary, but containing David Fafita for the Eels would be priority number 1. So this is what Brown and Madison have to deal with.
Yeah.
I think the Eels win 13+. I think the Titans are going to be in for a bit of a rude shock again.
Considering the performance the Titans did against the Raiders last week, and its squad that both teams have, it's going to be a lot closer. It just comes down to see who backs up from Origin or not. I'd say Eels will win by 8 points in a close match.
Well, it'll definitely be entertaining on the Gold Coast, nevertheless. Now, because all the Sydney teams are in hubs, we've got the Manly Sea Eagles and St George Illawarra Dragons lining up at Cbus Super Stadium as part of the NRL's initiative for double and triple headers. And there have been a lot of changes going on at St George Illawarra after barbecue gates
I was
involved.
going to say not by choice.
At weekend at Vorney's.
Yeah,
so speaking of that,
choice,
of course,
though.
there is no Paul Vaughan. He has been sacked altogether. Matt Duffy, Daniel Alvaro, and Tyrell Fui Mayono are all out of the picture. So Tyrell Sloan starts at fullback. Jared Beale will be moved to the wing, with Braden Williami jumping into the centres. Ben Hunt expected to back up alongside Tarek Sims from State of Origin. Jackson Ford named at lock forward with Jack DeBellin shifting to the front row. And new recruit for just this month of July alone, Jermaine Tanoa Brown, will also make his debut for St George Illawarra. So do you agree with the decision as a Dragons fan to have Dufty, Alvaro, and Fui Mayono serve their one-match suspensions now.
I would have put Dufty this week. I would have put Dufty against like a slightly easier opposition team than what Manly have coming up with, especially with Tontovorovic. But we'll get to that more after I go through the Manly lineup, which is fullback Turbo and Cherry Evans are expected to back up from Origin. But given a short 3-day turnaround, Tontovorovic may be rested. If Tontovorovic plays, Garrick will go to the win and Sully drops out. And DCE returning from Origin, if he plays, we'll see Walker move to the bench. Josh Schuster has been named to return this week. So Kyle Lawton moves back to the bench. Jake Javorovich remains sideline. Sipley has been named despite picking up a shoulder injury last week. And Cade Cusson, Jack Kojeski remain out or drop out of the side.
Now, this will be the first test for Anthony Griffin since Barbecue Gate. That
Yes.
he has got to try and rotate 12 match bans over the course of this next month.
Yeah.
Not good that you got to play Manly and South Sydney within that month.
No. That's why I said they shouldn't have played Matt Dufty. They should have played Matt Dufty this week, especially coming from Tontovorovic. They should have played Matt Dufty this week and maybe got someone else served a suspension for this 1 week. But that's what Anthony Griffin's made. But I suppose if you get Dufty over and done with quick, he's still there for the other game. So
But remember, Corey Norman's got to have a 1-game ban as well.
and so does Bird and Bellin and a heap of other players.
Probably more than likely, the majority of the Dragons side in.
If you
for this
see
week.
on the social media, it says that especially after this happened, there was a meme going around with the Dragons only naming 3 players, and Jackson Ford was still 18th man. But this isn't the case this week. He's in the lock forward position. So this is really going to hurt the Dragons. And
Not to mention the fact at the same time that Josh Schuster also comes back into the side. So that's another playmaking option, especially if Desi decides to rest Cherry Evans.
yeah,
That he could slide in the 5'8" from 4 and goes to halfback, or even if they wanted to play Walker in the halves again, like they did against Canberra.
well,
But
if it's Javorovich out, Garrick will go to fullback, and then Walker will probably slot into Garrick's spot.
or even Walker could go to fullback and then Moses Sully joins the bench.
We'll just say here that
I mean, Desi's got options he can play with.
yeah,
But with Schuster, the left edge has just been reinforced with a potent try-scoring and playmaking weapon.
yeah, he's like an extra half out in the field,
He's a Wade Graham prototype.
or even a Benji Marshall.
Yeah.
Even though Marshall's more equivalent to the halves, he's been playing here, there, everywhere this season for South. So, yeah. No, but this next month for the Dragons.
Morale will play heavily upon St. George Illawarra, and I think even if the team comes out and they decide we're just going to go out there, we're going to bust our guts. I mean, look, you're coming up against 5 months ago, you wouldn't have said Manly were a premiership heavyweight. Now you say Manly are one of the premiership heavyweights once more.
Yeah.
Look, I think this will go very ugly. I think they'll be looking to bomb Tyrell Sloan from every which angle they can, and I think Josh Schuster will be extra artillery that they can use to pressure him and Cody Ramsey under the high ball, and I think they'll go heavily at the Dragons' right edge with the return of Schuster and with the return of form for Brad Parker and Ruben Garrick. I think Manly are going to run out, regardless of whether Tommy Turbo plays or not. I think this will be a 13-plus victory for Manly.
Well, the Dragons' finals hopes they're somehow still in top 8.
For the moment.
But this next month of footy is really going to hurt the Dragons' chances of making the top 8. They're on the verge of, well, they're just inside the 8, but on the verge too. But this next month's going to hurt. I'm going to say the Seagulls will win by 24 points. I don't see the Dragons winning the next month of footy.
Now,
Who knows?
Yeah, it's a wait-and-see prospect. Now, Raiders Sharks from Seabus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. As for the Sharks, there have been no changes to the side that announced 20-12 win over the Warriors, but Andrew Fafita has been named in the reserves once more. Whether he plays or not, that's another question for Josh Hannay to answer when the time comes.
For the Raiders, what so-called home side this week, Jack White and Papa Lee are expected to back up, but Elliot Whitehead is out after suffering a head gash against the Gold Coast last week and also picking up a minor shoulder injury, so double blow there. Matt Frawley drops out of the squad with Whiten's return, and Dynamis Louis has suffered a calf strain against Manly, and is expected to miss 2 weeks, so not many changes there for the home side.
Now, I'm looking at this game. I'm looking at two different sides. On one side, a Cronulla Sharks side that has come from nowhere to still be in touch with the top 8, or sitting 7th at the moment, actually. And then the other side, I see a Canberra Raiders side, which is still in with a chance.
Yeah. Still part of that logjam of what is the top 8.
If history has shown us one thing is, the Sharks, wherever they are playing, Canberra, Sydney, Gold Coast, as this is now the case, they do not like playing the Raiders.
No.
That is an objective fact, that the majority of meetings between these two sides, apart from 1 or 2 wins to the Sharks in the last 5 years, it's been all lime green.
It has.
And I think Jack White, I think he'll be a little bit...
Well, because he's playing the full 80 minutes to stay at Origin.
Oh, no, that's right. He is named at 5'8".
He's named at 5'8" because it's White and Moses Hart.
So I think he'll be looking to he'll take confidence, regardless of the result, that he can play with a winning side.
Yeah.
And the way the Canberra Raiders rallied for that middle part of the game against Manly, I think they can... And it's the same story with Papali'i as well. I think they can stick it to the Sharks in the middle.
Like we said, it's pretty much unchanged side for the Raiders and Sharks. For both sides, really, it's unchanged.
And I think Tom Starling, again, could also prove the difference, considering you got that speed off the bench in dummy half, then you got Hodgson freed up to play in the middle when Sutton goes off. I just think the Raiders...
It's a flip of a coin, too, this one.
I think the Raiders... This is where the resurgence kicks off, I think.
Yeah.
They beat Manly, and it's a week in Manly, so they're coming up a much stronger Cronulla side. But I think they can take this Cronulla side head on, and they can come out on top. I think the Raiders will win this 1-12.
The Raiders will be trying to shut down... I reckon they'll be trying to shut down Tracy and Sean Johnson will be the 2 massive targets there for the Raiders. And for the Sharks, their targets will obviously be Whiten and Papali'i and Starling and Hodgson. So I'm going to say the Raiders in the 1-12 margin to win by 12. It's going to be a very, very tight contest, this one.
Now, as part of the Super Saturday triple header, sponsored by Bundaberg Rum, on with Fox Sports and Fox League, the North Queensland Cowboys play host to the Sydney Roosters, and there's only one change for the Roosters. Sio Siwa Tauki Aho has been ruled out with injury, so Isaac Liu has been elevated to the starting lineup, up with the 2 Butcher boys and Fletcher Baker joining the bench alongside Lachlan Lamb, and with the return of James Tedesco and Angus Crichton, and Billy Smith drops out of the side, and of course Nat Butcher drops back to the bench, and with Crichton's return.
Okay, so for the Cowboys, after getting destroyed by South last week, they have named the Origin reps of Francis Molo, Val Holmes, and Hamaso Tibuafaro. They'll have 3 days to recover, so they should be able to play. RC makes way at fullback for Holmes' return, with David Bowen dropped back to reserves and Cohen Hurst back to the bench. And Helam Luki, our suspended Peter Holler, is the new man on the bench, with Ruben Cotter and Ben Hampton are expected to be back in round number 19. The rate that the Cowboys, if they can be consistent across 80 minutes, if they show their consistency of what they did against South at the start of the match, if they play that through the whole game, it could be a very, very upset match here.
At the same time, the Roosters weren't exactly at their best when they were able to escape Canterbury.
True. Because they were undermanned without Tedesco.
Undermanned, and I would think some might argue a bit out of sorts as well.
True. After they were still a bit maybe still a bit out of sorts after losing to the Melbourne by 46 points the week prior. So it's around about this time of year where the Roosters start putting the foot down ever so, well, not a lot, but not going off like really slow. They start putting the foot down a little bit to try and make that last run to the finals like they always do year in and year out. But the Cowboys, they're a bit inconsistent at the moment, the Cowboys.
I think if you're looking at an edge to attack, I think the Roosters will probably be thinking try and go down the Cowboys' right-hand side, even though the left did get opened up by the Bunnies. Overall, I think the Roosters are still in a much stronger position, despite the sort of mixed bag of form that they have been working with for the last couple of weeks, not helped by, of course, all the names that we ran off that are either retired or unavailable through injury. I think they will go at the right edge. I think Tom Dearden will become a target for the Roosters. So Hutchinson and Tedesco will be trying to get some good ball space available for Josh Morris and Daniel Tupou down that side. And, of course, Victor Bradley is still a big part. I think he will get up over Taumalolo with his ball-playing link in the middle of the field. And it would make things much easier for Sam Walker on the other side as well. So I think while the Roosters aren't going to blow the Cowboys off the park, based on what we have seen, I think they will come away 1-12 victors.
Well, it's nothing that Trent Robinson's done here. He's still got a half on the bench in Lachlan Lamb, so they can eject him into the game at any time, maybe as a dummy half or as an extra half out in the field somewhere. I'm going to say Roosters win 13 plus by 26.
Right. Now,
due to the fact that they've got better squad.
Of course. And the final game on Saturday, the Melbourne Storm back at home after several months away, and they play host to the Newcastle Knights. Of course, Origin stars expected to back up at this stage, but without Suaso Su in the lineup, who has been ruled out with injury. Josh King and Brodie Jones make up the bench, and Tyson Frizzell back in the lineup in the second row. Daniel Safidi has also been named to return. To return for the Knights, despite missing out on Origin 3 there.
As for Melbourne Storm, Pappenhausen is still out, Harry Grant's still out, so that means Nico Hines still stays at fullback, and the Cheese is still at dummy half. The club will monitor how the Origin stars of Munster, Adokar, Finucane, Kafusi, and Walsh will go following the match. Tui Kamika has been named on the bench and Welch down to start, but they swapped last week, so they could happen again this week.
I got 2 words to sum up what will happen. Reality check. For the Knights, this will be the ultimate reality check.
When's the last time Knights won in Melbourne?
2015.
Exactly.
But not just on that, just the last 3 years, 2019 up to now, that the Knights and the Storm have met, the Knights have always come into this game either hovering around the top 8, in the top 4, or trying to get into the 8.
And then they
only for Melbourne to absolutely come and destroy them. I mean, 2019 it happened, 2020 it happened at Gosford, when Melbourne absolutely tore the Knights to pieces. And I think it's going to happen again.
Yeah. It's a given win for Melbourne, this one.
The Amy Park factor cannot also be underestimated here as well.
Especially if Munster backs up. Like, Munster has had a shit Origin series.
Well, not just Munster, but you also got Adokar, Welch, Kafusi, and Dale Finucane in there as well.
Now is that Munster's had a shit Origin series, like playing in the halves and that, and then he comes out in Clubland and plays excellent football like he did against the Roosters the week prior to last. So I can see this only going one way.
So can I. It's a Storm 13 plus victory.
Even better, Storm will reach half century and win by 50. Storm to win by 50. I've said it here, and I'm not going to give on it.
No, of course not. Now, the 3 games we got on Sunday sees the New Zealand Warriors... the New Zealand Warriors and the Penrith Panthers doing battle.
At Suncorp Stadium.
Yes, at Suncorp Stadium. So with no Jerome Luai after he tore his MCL, Matt Burton maintains his place in the side, now moving to the halves to accommodate Brent Naden in the centres. It is expected that all Origin stars are still available for the Panthers, will back up, of course, the loss of Nathan Cleary in that.
There's been a few changes to the Warriors side, although Nathan Brown has named the same 13 starters, with the only changes to the 17 that Josh Curran and Kane Evans are replacing Ben Murdoch-Masila and Jack Murchie on the bench as they both drop out of the squad. And on the reserves list, you've got Tohu Harrison and Chad Townsend. Other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Well, Penrith have been sort of hot and cold when they've had the bulk of their Origin stars missing, and especially without Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary.
Well, they just won the other.
Against Parramatta, they were lucky that they didn't give that win up. So they're a little bit weak at the moment. I wouldn't say weak, actually, because it's a bit of an understatement to a second-placed Panthers side.
They're at full strength as what they can for now.
For now, yes, but it's going to be a bit of a challenge. I would say it is going to be a challenge to try and maintain that rage that has been going since October 2020.
Yeah.
As with the Warriors, I mean, the dynamic they got with Reece Walsh in the half, at fullback, sorry, not in the halves, I was going to say. I think it's going to be a big test.
The Warriors are definitely not a scared Panthers, I reckon. It's not going to be all too easy for the Panthers. The Warriors will give up a good
they got the
fight.
forwards to match it with the Panthers, don't get me wrong, but I think the halves is where it's going to be. This is where Cody Nikorima needs to stand up without probably the form halves combination of the Premiership.
Yeah.
If there, it's going to be a big ask.
Well, you got Reece Walsh, who's technically still a half
/ fullback.
/ fullback, so there's like an extra half out in the field for the full 80 minutes anyway. So
if I was if I was the Warriors, I'd be going right edge.
Yeah.
With no Nathan Cleary there, because he is a bit of a defensive unit when he is called upon.
Yes, that is very true.
But overall, I still think Penrith can hold on thanks to the combinations they do have down pat. And I think they'll hang on for a 1-12 victory.
In favour of who?
The Panthers.
No, I'm going the opposite way. The Warriors will upset Panthers to win by 6.
Now,
it's a tight one, though. Honestly, a very, very tight one.
Main game of Sunday afternoon. The Brisbane Broncos play home to the West Tigers. There have been some changes going on here. Junior Pauga, if that's the best way to pronounce it, is going to make his debut in the centres for Michael Maguire's side, with Moses Mbai being shafted to the bench, and Adam Dewey named at 5'8", alongside Luke Brooks. Tom McKaylee named to start at lock forward in place of Joe Ofahengawi. And I believe those are all the changes. As well as Tommy Talau being pushed to the reserves. Oh, no, being included on the reserves, I would say.
Yeah. For the Brisbane side, Haas, Coates, and Flegler are expected to back up from Game 3 of Origin. Hetherington has retained the lock jersey after getting a late chance last week, with Corey Pakes and Flegler to come onto the bench, with Jesse Arthurs and Ethan Bullimore dropping to the extended bench. Albert Kelly has missed a place in this week's squad, with Walters retaining Gamble and Croft in the halves. So another starting to be a bit more consistent halves combination.
Well, I think this is actually the first time the Broncos have actually run out a halves combination that was the same halves combination as the previous week. Now, as we highlighted 2 weeks ago with this, Tyson Gamble and Brodie Croft became the 16th halves combination the Broncos have fielded over the last 3 years.
We can trace that to 2 games instead of 1 game.
It'll get changed to 2 games.
Depending, barring if a mishap at training with injury happens.
When all's said and done, it'll stay that way.
Yeah.
Look, I think the Tigers have run into a whole host of problems. I think most of them of their own making amongst the playing group. I don't think you can really fault Michael Maguire or the coaching staff at West Tigers for trying to repair the situation the best they can. They have been. It's just been all this pressure, considering this is the 10th year since the Tigers have last made the finals, and they're still in a position where they could easily miss it.
They almost beat a top side, the Rabbitohs, a couple of weeks ago at Leichhardt Oval. Almost, I should say, but not there. The Tigers, who knows what's... I think what's happening is they're trying to fix the club too quick. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen with the click of a finger. It's an ongoing process. Look at the Bulldogs.
Well, I'll tell you what, naming Adam Dewey at 5'8" is a good place to start if the Tigers were to try and...
See, why did they move Dewey to centres in the first place? Like going from half-back, 5'8" at the start of the year to centres, and now back... He should have stayed at 5'8" for the season. But we know little compared to what they do, so...
Well, I mean, our door's always open if we do tag the West Tigers in this somehow. If they want to have coaching staff come on, we'd be happy to have them.
Very much so.
Otherwise, I'm looking at the Broncos and I'm thinking, this is actually the best opportunity that Brisbane have to put on back-to-back wins.
What, and keep the Dogs on the bottom of the ladder?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes. I honestly look at these two sides and I'm thinking, you know what? The Broncos are actually the more settled side out of these two.
For once this season.
I know, it is a bit of a strange phenomenon that everyone's bashed the Broncos really for being this absolute basket case that thinks that they can live off the former glory days when they were the powerhouse.
Yeah.
But
it's actually something.
The way I see it, I don't think the Tigers could stand a chance. I think the Broncos come away with this 1-12 winners.
Well, the Broncos be not used to playing at Suncorp on a Sunday afternoon. They're usually playing there Thursday night or a Friday night. So this will be a bit of a different feeling for them.
So the Brisbane Vampires you're trying to describe here?
Yeah, you could say that. But I don't think the Tigers have got it in them. Yes, they came back and almost beat South a few weeks ago. I'm looking at the Broncos are going to win by 32 points.
So you're going for a Broncos 13-plus victory?
Yep.
Well, I suppose we don't know what's going to happen with the Tony Staggs.
They're the more stable side than what the Tigers are.
And finally, for round 18, we have got the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Canterbury Bulldogs. Trent Barrett forced into a couple of changes with Jackson Torpany Everil all out. Reynolds for Tony has been moved to start at lock forward. Josh Jackson moving into the second row for the first time all year. And Joe Stimson has been pushed back to the bench, and with the return of Arva Siamonafanai. So those are the only changes the Dogs make.
Well, Manu
Lewis. Yep, Manu, Lewis, and Avarillo all keep their place in the side.
And Aaron Shop's back too, so...
He was back last week.
I knew that. Not. No, I did.
Yeah, so it shows us the level of professionalism that we are working with.
I knew he was back last week.
I mean, but in all fairness, I mean, again, we're two blokes on a laptop in a small room that we've been doing this for 6 months. We're bound to get some things wrong.
Yeah. Wayne Bennett has named all these Origin stars: Mitchell, Murray, Cook, and Gagai to back up. Blake Taft, Braden Burns, and Peter Mamazelis are on the extended bench if any players are under the backup. Tano Milne and Liam Knights both took early guilty pleas from the clash against the Cowboys and are available to play. I could say one thing. 2 words. Massive win.
Yeah.
South's way.
Well,
although the Dogs did put up a fight.
That was probably the best the Dogs have played. I mean, I know we got 2 wins on the board that say, well, hang on, how is this the best you played when you got 2 wins on the board?
Yeah, but against top sides.
Well, we did beat a current top 8 side.
Shut up.
And of course, we beat a top 8 side from last year as well, i.e. being the Sharks, but of course they did only finish 8th, so...
Just.
But that was the closest to all of the top 4. That was probably the closest we have gotten to beating a top 4 side. I mean, Melbourne
But the Roosters were under strength.
Yeah, and this is going to be a full strength South Sydney side.
This is full strength, mate.
Oh, well, hang on. Actually, 2 years ago, we took on a full
2
strength.
years ago.
And last year as well, we took on full
worse
strength.
last year than what you were 2 years ago, so...
Well, last year, we took on a relatively full-strength South Sydney side, and we came out, we flogged them.
True. Like I said on Good Friday, in whatever episode number that was, back in the teens, the Dogs Rabbits games are always good classic matches. You expect the unexpected. I know I might be just me with the Good Friday thing, but it could happen against here. But I don't like the Dogs' chances. I'm sorry. Please don't murder me later.
I think the Dogs have shown a lot of spirit and have shown a lot of heart in all of this. But I gotta go with the Rabbitohs. But I think it's gonna be 1-12. I think the Dogs are ready for a fight. I think if they can scrap the same way they did against the Roosters, and really go after South Sydney's right-hand side, I think the Dogs could really... Maybe an upset, but I still think South Sydney will come out on top, but not a massive blowout.
Well, obviously, Cody Walker's injury wasn't too bad because he's been known to start, so it might be just a bit of a precaution back last week. Full-strength Rabbits, nearly a full-strength Dogs, you could say. Rabbits will run away with it by 46. Please don't murder me later.
And now, last but not least, after 2 relocations, Ampol's State of Origin Game 3 between the New South Wales Blues and the Queensland Maroons to go down tonight at Cbus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast.
After getting moved from, like you said, Newcastle.
That got moved from Stadium Australia.
Saturday night at the halftime during the Dogs Roosters game. As everyone knew last week, we were both extremely hyped for it to come to Newcastle. Then when that news happened, I was like, bullshit. Utter bullshit. But it's for the safety of the players and everything, so I completely understand it.
So the changes that Queensland have made, Andrew McCulloch, David Fafita, Jai Arrow, and Kyle Felt have all been dropped. Ben Hunt now starts at dummy half. Kurt Capewell and Felice Kafusi make up the second row alongside Big Tino Fasua Malawi after Jai Arrow got ruled out due to a biosecurity breach. Francis Molo and Tom Flegler are the new men on the interchange for Paul Green, and with the return of Kalen Ponga, Valentine Holmes shifts to fullback. Shifts from fullback to the wing, and Hamiso Tabuai Fido and Xavier Coates are also in the side. Coates hanging on once more to his place in the side.
As for the Blues, there's really not that many changes besides the new halves combination of Jack White and Mitchell Moses without Cleary and Luai. Dale Finucane comes in place of
Daniel Safidi,
who's out injured. And Dale Finucane was also been named vice captain, so that's a really good sign. And that's pretty much unchanged from last.
So this is the third game consecutively, not by choice, that Queensland have gotten a State of Origin match, even though this is technically a Blues home game.
Well, I know the two first games have been in Queensland. Well, first 2 games have been...
Game 1 had to get rolled.
But we've won them anyway, so technically the whole state has been our home this year.
Oh yeah, we own Queensland.
We own Queensland now. And what's your theory for next year?
We should get... considering that Optus Stadium is locked in for the 2022 series, as I recall...
Forgot about that.
It'll be interesting to see, but I think if certain things happen, honestly, the Blues should get all 3 games in New South Wales next year, but we'll have to see what happens because we got Perth in 2022 and we got Adelaide in 2023, and the MCG will probably get another run further on down the track.
I think it's 2024.
So, I think the decision at the end of the day has to be made by the ARL-LC, the ARL Commission, to see whether or not New South Wales, because of the circumstances, is that it has gone Queensland, and now Queensland again, and as it was originally Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, that could be controlled, that they have not had control due to certain things we're not allowed to talk about lest we get censored by the big tech overlords. Honestly, I would like to see New South Wales get 3 games, but I think realistically, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I like to say 3 New South Wales home games in New South Wales, obviously. 1 in Sydney, 1 at Parramatta, Bankwest, and 1 in Newcastle. That's
but I
what
do
like to
think
see.
regional Origin games are also part of the game's future for Origin.
Well, look how successful Townsville was. Newcastle would have been successful.
Yeah, it would have been.
But no.
Not to be, unfortunately. Look,
Money talks.
I don't know what Queensland think is going to happen, especially with Kalen Ponga back. I mean, are they going to pin all their hopes of trying to avoid a series whitewash just on Kalen Ponga alone?
Yeah.
When the bulk of that side that has been there has had their asses handed to them 76-6. I mean, Origin games have been moved more times than Queensland have scored tries. As Sportsbet.
It's true.
As Sportsbet have noted.
It's so fun. When I first saw it, I just absolutely lost it because it's so true and funny at the same time. I reckon New South Wales will get hit 100 to like
across the whole series. All right,
hang on. Queensland are going to stay on 6. New South Wales are getting into the 100.
All right. Before we give the final prediction, Wally Lewis medalist. Who do you think will get player? Who do you think will be man of the series?
Mate, it is so hard to pick.
You know what? Because I'm on Twitter, I will retweet to you a poll. Also, whoever is following us on Twitter, which is naught. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe some more variety. I will put a poll up to say who is your pick for the for the Wally Lewis medal, for the man of the series, and we'll ratify it down between the two of us to see the top 3. So
it's going to be in the backline New South Wales for sure.
Yeah,
it's either going to be Tedesco, Mitchell, Tavorovich, or Addo-Carr.
Yeah, I'm not. I just honestly,
Ty, he's been playing good.
I mean, someone somewhere out there is probably going to come up with a poll and say, "Who's your man of the series?" It's just going to be all probably top 5 options: Tom Trbojevic, Tom Trbojevic, Tom Trbojevic, Tom Trbojevic, James Tedesco.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I could already be out and about, but it has to be nothing against Ty. He has had a brilliant series. Don't get me wrong, but Tedesco, Mitchell, Trbojevic, Tom Trbojevic, and Josh Addo-Carr has to come down to them 4. I'm saying it now. It's one of those 4 players.
Yeah, probably the first 4 players that Queensland Health try and quarantine.
Look, to be honest, if I have to pick one, I'm going to have to pick Tommy Turbo.
Yeah, I can't go past Tom Trbojevic.
Unless for the first time in, I don't know, its history, there might be a joint.
All right. Then I'll say James Tedesco in there as well.
Yes, if it's joint, I'm going to say Tom Trbojevic and James Tedesco. If it's joint.
All right. Well, whoever doesn't get that is bound to get the Brad Fittler medal.
Oh, come on. They all deserve it too.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably just that. For the class of 2021, they should all just get the Brad Fittler medal.
They will. But yeah.
Tom
Trbojevic and Wally Lewis medal. If it's joint, add Tedesco onto that list.
But other than that, I think Tom Trbojevic, he will go after Tabuai Fido.
That'll be a good foot race.
Yeah, it definitely will be.
And add Addo-Carr into that, and Mitchell.
Yeah, but I think they're going to open up down the right-hand corridor for the Blues attack. They'll just tear Queensland up down that left-hand side. And I think this will be a Blues 13-plus victory.
Blues to win by 32.
For the first clean sweep.
In Queensland!
For the Blues' first clean sweep since the year 2000.
And it'll be all in Queensland.
That'll just be even more satisfying.
This game was supposed to be a dead rubber. But this is going to be very, very exciting now to see if we can win 3-0 in Queensland. So Blues to win by 32 points and keep Queensland 0, but keep them on 6 overall in the series.
And on that note, that's your NRL round 17-18 debrief, as well as your look ahead at State of Origin Game 3. Don't go anywhere. We got your Betfred Super League preview coming up next, including the Challenge Cup final between the Casper Tigers and St. Helens. Join us right after the break. Don't go anywhere.